Nigeria has, for most of the last decade, has seen double-digit inflation. How much of that do you think weighs into Bitcoin's value prop in Nigeria today? Like, is that something that people are really aware of and are using Bitcoin to avoid? Or is that just kind of like a secondary effect and maybe like a second or third reason that they might want to try Bitcoin?
Yeah, so like I said, initially with regards to individuals trying to beat out inflation or at least protect against it, obviously the initial routes were some of the traditional alternatives like maybe T-bills, in some cases actually physically buying assets, whether it's real estate or livestock or some of these other, traditional methods. But over time, a lot more people via some of these applications that already exist that show you that the primary use case is you could actually use Bitcoin as a savings mechanism. A lot of that started taking up, some of the mind share that we see with regards to people trying to beat out some of this inflation and some of the issues that come with inflation with regards to the purchasing power and everything. So yeah, definitely we're seeing a lot more people be more open to using Bitcoin as an alternative savings mechanism, definitely. Especially from a perspective of, Bitcoin being the best performing asset long term in the last decade. So that's a huge, track record that isn't common around the ecosystem, definitely with regards to other cryptos. So another thing is a lot more people obviously are seeing the promise with stablecoins as well, specifically because some of these individuals aren't those that are, long-term bullish Bitcoiners. So they aren't going to be hodling, diamond hands all the way for like 10 years. But for those that are doing it, good on them. So for those that aren't, their view is, short-term Bitcoin isn't really that great to be holding, even though, relatively speaking, we're still in a bull market if you look at the chart outside of, a few months. So yeah, their perspective is Bitcoin isn't too great short term. So we might as well go into some of these stablecoins like Tether. Now the issue with that is a lot of people are starting to see some of the true unique value propositions of Bitcoin, like I mentioned, which is actually being able to use this monetary network cheaply, which is a huge thing, especially for average folks. So some of the challenges that they're seeing is, okay, we're going the stablecoin route, right? But at the same time, if I want to spend some of these stablecoins or actually get access to these stablecoins is insanely expensive, especially with regards to compounding swap fees on top of gas fees. It's really absurd. So a lot of them are stuck between having some portion in stablecoins and then some long-term holdings in Bitcoin. Now, for me, as a Bitcoiner, I go, how can we bridge the gap between these two? And talking with others in the space, obviously the logical next step for us is, in the ecosystem is to actually get stable coins on the Lightning Network, specifically on the Lightning Network, because again, you're providing cheap, instant global settlements on top of this network, and it's also decentralized as well, censorship resistant again because it is Bitcoin. So if you kind of think of it from the perspective of if they both have this savings mechanism and at the same time have this stable mechanism that they could be holding short term, you do allow them the ability to stay within the Bitcoin ecosystem, which is maintaining all those benefits that we spoke about, like censorship resistance and all of that. So from that perspective, that is what we feel would be the next long-term next step, I guess, which is to have those stablecoins on Lightning. But outside of that, definitely the current situation is some hold long-term Bitcoin, some even still hold short-term Bitcoin because of the what I say philosophical long-term belief that they have that Bitcoin will still continue to outpace all these other assets long-term and actually preserve their wealth and grow it. And then obviously there are still individuals that are stuck in the limbo of still having to put up with stable coins even though they aren't that easy to use or cheap to use to begin with. So that's kind of what we're
Mhm.
seeing on the ground and how we think we could help fix some of the issues we see with people going towards the stablecoin route.